To Kill a Mockingbird, video 28. Well, I don't have anything to ask about 27, so let's dive into it right away. The neighborhood thought when Mr. Radley went under, keep in mind here the expression is go under, right? Go under, of course, could be like literally speaking, go under the table. I put some meanings, important meanings here, right? The second ship, for example, going under, right? The divers went under 3 times that afternoon would be the same meaning. The ship leaked so badly that it finally went under. But to go under can also be fail. That big department store went under last year because of the fire. Of course, the idea is the same, right? Go under. To suffer defeat, again the same idea. The enemy went under after a long battle. To lose consciousness. The surgeons gave me a strong anesthetic and I quickly went under. So those are the dictionarized possible meanings for go under. Of course, here go under we get by the context that it is die, right? The neighborhood thought when Mr. Radley went under, Boo would come out, but it had another thing coming. Boo's elder brother returned from Pensacola and took Mr. Radley's place. The only difference between him and his father was their ages. Jem said Mr. Nathan Radley bought cotton too. Remember, bought cotton? Buy cotton is a euphemism there for doing nothing, right? We saw that in one of our previous videos. Mr. Nathan would speak to us, however, when we said good morning, and sometimes we saw him coming from town with a magazine in his hand. The more we told Dill about the Radleys, the more he wanted to know, the longer he would stand hugging the light pole on the corner, the more he would wonder. Okay, question, what is this idea of hugging a light pole? Answer, remember from a previous part of the book, he would be there hanging the light pole and looking at the house, not daring to come near the house, but also not just leaving it because he was too curious about Boo. Wonder what he does in there, he would murmur. Looks like he'd just stick his head out of the door. Jim said, he goes out all right when it's pitch dark. Pitch dark is an expression that means completely dark. It's there in our Quizlet list, and the picture is just, a dark square, which represents very well pitch dark. Pitch dark, I imagine pitch dark, when you are in a place, probably you've gone through that, and then you open your eyes and you can't actually know for sure that you have your eyes opened, right? So that would be pitch dark. Well, Jim said he goes out all right when it's pitch dark. Mrs. Stephanie Crawford said she woke up in the middle of the night one time and saw him looking straight through the window at her. Said his head was like a skull looking at her. Okay, skull, right? Skull is like the bone of our head, so it looked like a skull looking directly at her. Ain't you ever waked up at night and heard him, Dill? He walks like this, and Jem slid his feet through the gravel. Why do you think Miss Rachel locks up so tight at night? I've seen his tracks in our backyard many a morning. Remember, many a morning is a very common way of saying, formally, many mornings, many a morning, right? Many a boy, took this course. It would be many boys, of course, took this course. And one night I heard him scratching on the back screen, but he was gone He was gone. Time Atticus got there. Uh, no problems with this sliding, right? If you slid your feet, you don't, raise the feet as you are walking. And gravel, I think we've seen before, but remember we're talking about very small stones or very coarse sand, right? That's gravel. Okay, so Jim slid his... slid of course is the past of slide, okay? Jim slid his feet through the gravel. Why do you think Miss Rachel locks up so tight at night? Okay. Wonder what he looks like, said Dill. Jim gave a reasonable description of Bull. Bull was about 6.5 feet tall, judging from his tracks. He dined on raw squirrels and any cats he could catch. That's why his hands were blood-stained. If you ate an animal raw, you could never wash the blood off. It's a nice story, right? There was a long, jagged scar that ran across his face. Jagged is like full of, like a knife. A jagged knife is like one of those table knives, or a saw. A saw is all jagged. So there was a long jagged scar that ran across his face. What teeth he had were yellow and rotten. His eyes popped and he drooled most of the time. If you drool, saliva comes out of your mouth. So one more, I'm going to read one more time. Please bear with me because I want to tell you important words. Keep in mind that in many cases we know the words because of the context, but we end up forgetting them. So I just want to emphasize them, right? So the first word I would like you to remember is slid, as the past of slide. I would like you to remember gravel, as the kind of terrain. I would like you to remember, scratching is pretty okay. Dine on, that's important to remember that dinner is the meal. Diner is a kind of small restaurant, we see in movies where you can get, a pie, some pancakes, bacon and eggs. There's the lady with a coffee pot, and she's serving you. That's a diner. Okay? So you have dinner, double N. If you can't understand the logic behind this, remember that video on Magic E. If you haven't watched the video on Magic E, see, now you need it again, so I would advise you to really watch the video on Magic E. Well, so we have dinner, double N, and that's why I pronounce D. When we have a single N, like diner, the E is going to influence the I, right? And then we're going to have diner. And then we have the verb dine. Dine is to have dinner. It is much more common nowadays to say have dinner instead of dine as a verb. But apparently this guy dined on raw squirrels. Squirrels. Like Chip and Dale. If you don't know Chip and Dale, I'm going to take notes here. I will try to put in our list Chip and Dale. Those animals that are little mice, They run very fast, they have a very tall tail, they love nuts, And then there is, I think they're Disney characters called Chip and Dale. They are squirrels. Raw, remember sashimi? What is sashimi? Sashimi is raw fish, right? So that's important as well. And then jagged is important. Scar. I believe I do have a scar here. I think I have a scar here when I was a kid. My brother and I were playing bullfighting. I was the bull and he was the the Toreador, and it ended up in a disaster, so I got his car here, right? Pop, of course you can pop popcorn and stuff, right? But if your eyes pop, that's, you know what happens, you know what it means, right? And drool is pretty important as well. You can be drooling, you know, as apparently, according to Jim description, Boo would drool all the time. Let's try to make him come out, said Dill. I'd like to see what he looks like. Jim said if Dill wanted to get himself killed, all he had to do was to go up and knock on the front door. Our first raid come to pass only because Dill bet Jim, the Grey Ghost, against Tom Swift's that Jim wouldn't get any further than the Radley Gate. In all his life, Jim had never declined a dare. Remember, a dare is I dare you. I dare you touch that boat is a scene in Finding Nemo. I think you remember, right? There's a game kids play that is called Truth or Dare, right? When I say kids, like young adults as well. And with young adults it involves lots of alcoholic drink, and right? But what is Truth or Dare? You spin a bottle, and depending on the position of the bottle, you have the opportunity to ask the person truth or dare. The person may choose truth, and then it means that a person has to answer whatever you ask them. And if it's a dare, you can dare the person to do something. I dare you touch that boat. I dare you, I don't know, tell the waiter that you would like, I don't know, a dinosaur leg. Well done, please. You know, something like that. So apparently they bet, right? They bet the Grey Ghost against two Tom Swifts that Jim wouldn't get any further than the Radley's Gate. And of course, Jim is a very brave guy, and he won't decline a dare.